Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for braving the weather. I know we probably may have some stragglers, and that's okay. But welcome to High Point Market. Our friend in the back, he's a meteorologist, and he informed me that it is going to break around 11-ish. I think that's what you said, based on the radar. So that's a good thing. But welcome to Universal and welcome to High Point Market. My name is Neil McKenzie. I'm the Senior Vice President of Marketing here. And you're in the Learning Center, and we have a number of events that we are hosting here with folks like Melissa, different topics. We do record all of our events. So if you did register for something, if you had to leave or miss, or maybe you got caught in the rain, we make those available about 2 weeks after market. So you can check that out. And we do email that out to you if you registered for any events. Here at Universal, there is a ton to see. The building is massive, 3 floors. Our newest introduction, Modern, which is 190 SKUs, is located on floor 3. So I highly encourage you to go check that out. You can also pre-order all of Modern. So that is available on our B2B storefront for you if you are an account. I would also highly recommend you become an account. So you can do and see everything that we offer just by checking in at the front desk, and they will be able to connect you also with a scanner. Everything is tagged in the showroom, so you can scan items that you're interested in, and then you'll get an email with everything that you were interested in. It's just a lot easier than trying to remember what picture you took where. We are excited to have Melissa back, and I know her content is always so informative and usually quite lively. And I think afterwards you're hosting a little session in the Designers Lounge. So just check in at the front desk. And I think Melissa's doing a book signing. So that's exciting as well. So also in that Designers Lounge later on, we do have our beauty bar. So if you need a hair touch up before you hit the town tonight, walk-in appointments are available from 4 to 5. And there's some cocktails and libations that can be served in there as well throughout the day. So anyway, I'm going to kick it over to Melissa. And thank you all for visiting with Universal. And I hope you have a great market. Thanks.
All right. Welcome, everybody. I got to tell you, Universal is my favorite place to do trainings because they have this gorgeous room. They are so accommodating. The Designers Lounge is tons of fun. We are going to have a book signing on marketing luxury design, attracting affluent clients following this presentation. And if you hang out a little bit longer, I'm going to be available for a Q&A. Any questions on design biz, does not have to be rates and fees, can be anything you need to ask me. Okay, I've got 30 years in the field, and it would be rare to ask me anything I couldn't answer, or at least know where the answer is. So we are here today to talk about rates and fees and how to set flat fees to earn more with less stress. Does that sound good to everybody? All right, excellent. Now, I want to start out with a client of mine because this is a designer a lot like some of you, okay? She came to me, and she was flying around $200K a year. And in the space of 12 months, she managed to top 7 figures, and she grew from a team of herself to a team of 5. She also went from working 70, 80-hour weeks to having her nights free for her family and dinners and her weekends available. Now, Andrea is a self-professed workaholic. She will be the first to tell you that. Do I have any workaholics in the room? Yeah, I thought so. So even though she gets her weekends free, she often works them. That's her choice. But I want you to have those choices because to me, it's not about just earning a lot of money. It's about having the time and the freedom to enjoy it. And that's one of my primary goals. I want you falling back in love with your business, and I want you having a business that delivers the time and resources for your extraordinary life. That's what really matters. And, you know, she lacked smart systems and processes. We do a lot with systems and processes in coaching. It makes a huge difference. It makes you more productive. It gives you more freedom. She was working too much, sacrificing herself to her business. Do I have any sacrificers in the room? Just a few? Oh, come on now. Every hand should have gone up on that one. I know that. All right. Underbilling with hourly. Moved her into flat fees. Now, that's a great little story because the first time we moved her into flat fees, it was a remodel. And the client was a senior VP with Zoom. This was in 2020 in California in lockdown. This is when she made this transition. And she said, I'm going to do $750 a square foot. I said, you're what? I said, no. You got to go at least double that. Well, she started to get the dry heaves when I said that. So I said, okay, hang on. We'll get you back to $1,350 a square foot. It was going to be a $46,000 fee. She got in front of the client, knees knocking, stomach churning. And he said, what's the basis of the fee? She said, $1,350. He goes, terrific. Pulls out his checkbook, writes a check. I'm like, oh, you left money on the table. But she couldn't have gone any higher. Now she absolutely can and does. But at the time she couldn't. So you've got to be aware that you're going to have some resistance internally coming up when you're making these shifts, especially because it's going to feel like big numbers to you. The reality is they aren't big numbers to your clients. They aren't big numbers to your clients. And you got to remember that. Don't sell the way you would buy, because then you're imposing your limiting beliefs on your client. They don't have those limitations. Okay. Big lesson there. So 20% of today's homeowners are hiring interior designers. Pre-COVID, it was only 6%. This is a massive growth. This is a silver lining to the pandemic. And value-based fees, which is what I prefer to call flat fees, because they're not all so flat, is your competitive advantage because it removes the surprise for your clients. No client wants the surprise of hourly billing every month. Hopefully you're billing every month. I talked to a designer the other day. She said, I think we're about 3 months behind. It's about $150K we're out. I'm like, oh, help. That's a scary number. Okay. But the reality is hourly billing takes a huge amount of time. And I know all my principals, even those with teams, they go into every invoice and they discount hours. That is a non-starter. Hourly billing is often running you 40 to 50% less than flat fees will get you because you're not tracking it accurately and you're discounting hours. The reality is there is not an hourly rate on the planet, unless we're talking maybe $1,500 an hour, that can accurately reflect the education, experience, and expertise you bring to the table. Anybody here at $1,500 an hour? I didn't think so. Okay. So I really want you to internalize that and take that in and realize that when I say value-based fees, we are valuing on the outcome of design, on the transformation of design, which, by the way, has a 15 to 20 year or longer return on it. Do you get that? That's a big deal. That is a really big deal. It doesn't matter how long it takes. And designers work at different speeds. So those that work faster get penalized by hourly because they're not able to bill as much. That's not working either. So I want you to think about the value of the outcome and the fact that your client is enjoying the fruits of your labor, your talents, your team over 15 to 20 years. You need to get compensated for that value. That's why value-based fees make such a difference. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So they work for all projects. There is not a project on the planet that you can show me that I cannot put flat fees on. Now, I may have to work a little bit at it because those scrambled egg projects can be a bit of a challenge. But here's the trick. With flat fees, you have to remove any reference to hourly from your business and your practice. You cannot have both hourly and flat fees going at the same time. It will not work. It absolutely will not work. It will allow the client to try to take your hourly and destroy the integrity of your fees. Do not let that happen. So you just have to stop referencing hourly. If you want to keep an hourly behind the scenes, you can do it. But it has to be removed from any documentation, from your website, any reference at all when you move to flat fees. Okay? So it really does work for all combinations. And it delivers the confidence, the control, and the compensation that you deserve. Being confident in your rates is paramount. Confidence is an aphrodisiac for clients, especially top-level clients. They're hiring you because they don't have the time or the interest to do what you do. And we love those kind of clients. So you really want to be confident. So what you're going to learn today is how to truly value design and the services and your priceless talent. The number one phrase to protect yourself from scope creep, because I hear this a lot. Please, lots of seats. Come on down the front. You'll learn more when you sit in the front. How to detail design deliverables. Design deliverables are critical and you must be specific. And I will show you exactly what I mean by that so you don't lose your shirt, and 4 proven formulas. Now, there are more formulas than that. In the postcard you have on your seats, I wanted to make this easy, so I literally am sharing all of the formulas in a success guide download. You have the QR code here, which does work. You have the link there, and you have the postcard in your seats. Please, please, please download this. It will make such a difference, and it will make it so much easier for you. It truly, truly will. I want this to be simple. So what's your true value? How many of you can relate to the many hats? How many of you would consider yourselves a materials master, a project manager, a contractor? Do I have any contractors in the room? Yeah, a couple of them. Excellent. Color expert, psychologist, psychic, because we're having to read our clients' minds and the contractor's mind, and that can be a chaotic place to be. Boy, I tell you. How about a peacemaker? Anybody tried to keep a couple together? Yeah? Or a furniture designer, space planner. We know about those. Fabric magician. Okay? Mood maker, lighting designer, purchasing agent, team leader. Team leader counts, by the way. It doesn't have to be your team. It can be your vendors. That's a team. Your reps. That's a team. Your installers. That's a team. Time management ninja. If you're not one, I got a training for that. Okay? Resource professional, creative genius. Everybody wants to own that one. And marketing maverick. Now, that's the one none of you want to own. I get it. But most of you are trying to do it if you're not maverick status yet. Now, this is only 18. When I have surveyed the designers in my audiences, we have come up with 35 hats. And here's the funny part. You notice what's missing off the list? Interior designer. Holy bananas. So if you're wearing all these hats, don't you think you should be paid for multiple hats? I do. So that's my goal with value-based fees, because there is no other industry on the face of the planet that is as complex as ours and requires the wearing of this many hats. There isn't. So I want you to own that. That is a really big, hairy deal. And I want you to understand your value factors. It's your education. By the way, those of you that came into the field from another career path, that is an asset. Don't hide it. Don't ignore it. Don't discount it. That is an asset. That counts as education, okay? Your experience, your talent, your resources, your team, and your hats. You got a whole lot going on here. And every time you're in a session like this, you're enhancing your value. So design is a short-term investment with a long-term ROI. So when the client starts getting a little squirrely and a little like, oh, we didn't think it was going to get this higher. What are you thinking? Now we're doubling. Now we're quadrupling. You say, hang on. I want to remind you that this is a short-term investment with a really long-term ROI. You're going to be enjoying this for the next 15 to 20 years. And you know what? Hey, I get it. You're thinking maybe you're going to move in 5. Well, you're going to get everything back out of the remodel or reno that we've done. And the furnishings and the art and the accessories and the rugs and even the drapery, movable money, flexible dollars. Movable money, flexible dollars. Those words are music, particularly to the ears of male partners, okay, male spouses, because for some unknown reason, in my experience and that of the designers that I've worked with, we have learned that men seem to think that furniture is attached to the house. And so if they're going to get transferred, they're thinking, well, we're not going to put money in now because we're just going to move again. And I teach my designers how to approach it as movable money, flexible dollars. And then they go, oh, so we get to take our investment with us. Yes, you do. Okay. Now, obviously, it's great if they just hire us and we get to do a whole new residence. That's optimal, but that doesn't always happen. So I also want you to think about what a home really is, because it is not about a sofa. It's not about a bed. It's not about a dining table. It's not about a chair. I want you to focus on the functions, because a place to relax, refresh, and recharge is worth a whole lot more than the cost of a bathroom remodel. Don't you think? Think about a place to laugh and learn. Could be a home office, could be a kid's playroom. That's worth a whole lot more than the contents of the room. So when you start positioning and framing rooms as per the functions that will light up your client, don't go technical. Get out of the word spaces, call it rooms. You have a tendency to get too technical in your speak. Don't ask a client what their scope of work is. They have no freaking clue. You can ask them for, what would you like to see at the end of 6 months? What would you like to see at the end of 2 years? Tell me a bit about your project. But asking for scope of work, they're not qualified. And that is a sticky note. You need it on your laptop. You need it on your mirror. Clients aren't qualified. I did a whole podcast episode on this. I might need to do a second podcast episode on this, because it is a game changer. When you really realize that your clients aren't qualified to do what you do and to do what you're asking them to do, you need to step up and lead them. You're not just a designer, you're a leader. And you've got to lead the client in the project. A place for romance and connection. Doesn't that sound better than a bedroom? Now, that might not even be the bedroom. That might be the living room. We don't know. And a place to entertain. Okay? So your value increases every day with every market, every training, every new client, every new vendor. Anytime you're expanding your knowledge, your value increases. And this means that your fees need to keep up. So how many of you have raised rates in the last year? Let me see a show of hands. Oh, excellent. I'm excited to see that show of hands. Okay. So you're going to be raising them again with the new year coming. All right. This applies to flat fees as well. You don't just keep the same flat fees. Now, the fees I'm going to share with you, they're ranges. They're not limits. You can go beyond and above always. I'm never going to stop you from doing that. I've never met a designer that overcharged. I think it's possible. I've read about them once or twice in the Wall Street Journal. It wasn't pretty. But it's incredibly rare, and it's usually not on the service side. It's usually on product that happens. So your success is my mission and my goal. And I really want you to understand this. I have 30 years in our field. I had my own practice in Atlanta, Georgia for 30 years. I moved to Scottsdale, Arizona, November 2019, before the world changed forever. And I have not designed since I moved. I just made the decision to go full-time into coaching. I would rather be driving your success than be working with individual clients on their homes. It's just more fun for me after 30 years. So I want you having ideal clients that you love. Not just people who show up, but ideal clients. Larger projects with bigger investments. It's so much more fun when you're working 2, 3, 5 projects a year instead of scrambling with 15 and 20 and 25 or 30. Been there, did that. Wasn't worth it. The compensation you deserve. You need that, and the team and a design business you love. So this is about falling back in love with your design business. Now, there are 5 proven profit pillars. Marketing and sales is the first. You got to get clients in the door. I know it's the one your least favorite. I get that. Rates and fees we're going to focus on today. Systems and processes. Part of rates and fees is systems and processes, team building, and design delivery. And then these get turned into systems in the Design Business Freedom Accelerator. So we have the client attraction system. We have the money system, the freedom system, because if you don't have the right systems and processes in place, you don't have any freedom. You're just on that giant hamster wheel of design. The talent system and the scale system. I want you to have a business that you can leave for 2 weeks, be completely out of touch, and it doesn't fall apart. How many people have taken a vacation in the last year? Let me see a show of hands. Not enough hands have gone up. Not enough hands have gone up. If your hand did not go up, you got a couple more months to take a vacation. Okay? So design is in my DNA. Now, some of you heard me earlier mention the man in the middle. That's great-grandfather, Frank Lloyd Wright. Okay. America's most famous but not most favorite architect. Great-grandfather, I did never get to know him. I was born after he passed. The lady in the lovely blue outfit, some of you might recognize her. Anybody here see the Ten Commandments? Okay. Well, that's Princess Nefertiti, otherwise known as my mother, Ann Baxter, late actress. She's been gone 38 years. My favorite on the barge in the movie, and Charlton Heston comes up dripping from the mud as Moses, and she looks at him and she says, Moses, Moses, Moses. That's my mother. I grew up with a real life drama queen. And then the lady over here, anybody recognize this one? Edith Head, winner of 8 Oscars for costume design. My godmother and a very close friend of Mom's. So I kind of have the creativity in the DNA. I'm incredibly blessed, incredibly lucky. It's been a wild ride. It will continue to be a wild ride because that's what I like. So I've lived all over the place and done all sorts of interesting things. But these people inform that. They inspire me, and I look at what they achieved. And the funny part is about what I'm doing today, great-grandfather did not have a business bone in his body. He was a terrible businessman. He was a genius creative, brilliant architect. And he didn't call himself an interior designer, but he did all the interiors of his homes. He called us inferior desecrators. I think had I been around in his day, we would have had some very spirited conversations. So I share this because this is the kind of marketing I want you to do. Marketing that is authentic, that is fun, that puts you in a place of being memorable and magnetic just by virtue of you showing up and being there. And too often, designers are trying to turn themselves into some sort of a pretzel, or they're putting on a mask of a face and a costume, and they're like, oh, I hate doing this. You know what? It's not going to serve you if you hate doing it. So one of the fastest ways, how many wine drinkers do I have in the room? Let me see a show of hands. Oh, yeah, most of the hands go up. Okay. So even if you're not a wine drinker, let's say you're a spirit drinker, you could be a coffee drinker. Find some place that does it at a high level. Stop going to the free tastings and find the wine dinner. Find the spirit dinner. Maybe it's $250, $550, $1,500. Maybe it's the Naples Wine Week, $15K, where one of my clients went and she said, Melissa, of course we're going to go. It's $15K a couple. And all I've got to do is land one client from that, and it more than pays for itself. That's the mentality you want to have. Okay. You want to think, wow, how can I go have some fun, invest in my business? I get one client, I make one connection. Maybe I don't get the client. Maybe I meet the gate opener. Maybe I meet the referral source. That's what you got to look at, because this is what fun looks like for me. It's pretty goofy stuff, but it works. All right. One size does not fit all. I'm giving you 4 formulas for a reason. I want you running at least 2 for every single project. I want you having a check and balance going on. I don't want you getting lazy. Now, I'm betting I have some flat fee users in the room. How many people here are using flat fees now? Okay. And you're here probably because they're not working as well as you had intended, is generally what I'm finding out. And I'm finding out that a lot of the folks using flat fees now are doing the straight translation from hourly, like an estimate of hourly, and then they roll that into a flat fee. It's a dangerous thing to do. So I'm going to show you how to do it better. All right. Be careful about relying on colleagues, relying on friends for what they're doing. You don't know the rest of their story. You don't know how their business is structured. So stick with what you know will work for you. That's what will make the difference. You are that was interesting. You're one of a kind. I want you to adapt your fees per client per project. Now, when I say adapt, I don't mean you have to give the client choices. If you give the client a choice, you want to make sure that either choice will come out the same way. There are clients, I've got designers who come to me and say, Melissa, they really want to be hourly. I said, it's up to you if you want to allow that. This is your business. Your process is sacred. You get to decide what you want. And if you don't want to be hourly, you educate them into flat fees, and that's it. Just because somebody from the outside tells you you should do something because they want it doesn't mean you have to. It's your business, your way. So find what fits you. Don't rely on what someone else is doing, and always be your best you. It's mainly because I love cats. Don't lose your shirt. This is critically important. This clause, additions and changes require a change order and additional fees. Fees. I didn't say additional hours, did I? I said additional fees. Okay. This goes at the bottom of your deliverables. Critically important. This is your get out of jail free card. This means if there's scope creep, if they add something, if they say, you put in your deliverables 2 floor plans per room, and they say, well, we'd like a third. Fantastic. Let me get you that change order and that additional fee. Okay. My minimum additional fee, $550. That's just my minimum additional fee. Now I'll go way up from there, but that's my starting point for an additional fee because I'm not going to bother with a change order for less than that. This also applies if you have walkthroughs in your deliverables and you say up to 90 minutes and they start turning into 3 hours each. I know a bunch of you have been there. Now, the first time that happens, you're going to grace it. You're going to comp it. The second time, you're going to write a change order for all the remaining walkthroughs and get your additional fees. Okay? I want you protected. I want you safe. I want your bottom line to be bigger than ever. I don't want you giving away money. Okay? So really, really important. Deliverables. They are this specific. Okay? In your success guide, that downloadable, I go all the way through to the big reveal. All the way through. I can't do that in slides because it takes too much space up. But 1 project vision board, 2 floor plans per room, 1 finished board per room. Now, you might put 2. You might put no project vision board. That's fine. I'm not trying to alter your process. But what I never want to see, and I see this occasionally with the designers I coach, and I have to pull them off that edge, I see the word all. All floor plans per room. Do you know what that means? The client can say, I'd like 5 floor plans for this room and 3 for this one and 6 for that one. You're going to be in floor plan hell. That's not going to be pretty. Okay. So you get to be very, very specific about what you're doing here. 2 furniture selection boards, 2 items revised. If I say 2 revisions, you know what that means? They can ask you to flip the whole room. So you've got to be willing to get that specific. Create a master list of deliverables. You might want to have one for furniture only projects and one for remodel projects. You might want to have one for new build projects. And that way, when the project shows up, you just take your master list, you do a little editing, and boom, pop it into your proposal. Okay? Put it in your letter of agreement. That's where these go. That's what makes the difference. But this is linchpin. And it's linchpin from painful experience on my side just once. I only had to learn the lesson once. But without deliverables, I lost a shirt. I reclaimed a shirt in the second half of the project. Better not to lose it to start with. So this is strictly design decorate. We're not remodeling in this. 1 project vision board. You may not do those. It's up to you. 2 floor plans per room, 2 furniture selection boards, 2 item, 1 rendered view. Now, interesting on the word rendered. I just went technical. You all know what I mean. But did you know that there are very well-educated, accomplished clients out there who have no clue what a rendering is, and they will not ask you because they're too embarrassed? I found this out because I had a friend who referred a dear friend of hers, and she came back to me and she said, Melissa, Ted doesn't know what a rendering is, and he won't ask you. I said, oh, I got this. So the next time I saw Ted, I said, so Ted, our next meeting, I'm going to be bringing the photorealistic illustrations. He knew exactly what that was. So we really do have to come off of our technical terminology. We think that everybody understands what it is. But if you notice, I don't watch HTV but twice a month when I'm getting a mani-pedi, okay? But I listen. And when I listen, they don't use the word rendering. They don't use it. So it's not common language. We don't want our clients to watch HTV anyway. But that's how a lot of, 15% of clients are buying design now because of HGTV. So let's take a look at that. Does this make sense to everybody here? Is this what you're doing now? No, but it will be. It will be. Okay, I go all the way, big reveal, full styling and install, and 5 client meetings in home. I mean, I'm getting specific here. I could say 5 client meetings by Zoom. I could say 3 client meetings in home. Get that specific because this is about protecting you. All right. And then they're going to sign off on this. So if they say, well, we thought there were going to be more meetings in home, and you go right back to your deliverables and say, that's not what we agreed on. Now we're happy to do it, but there will be a change order and additional fees. Okay. That will make the difference. So this is what you have to have. If one of my designers, when they come to me needing a proposal and they want to run numbers, I need all of these things. Now, I don't generally need every single one depending on the project, but it's much safer for me to have all these pieces of information. Clients plan interior investment, number 1 on the list. How many of you are not getting this? Yeah, I see that. It's hard. Okay, so let me tell you how to make it easy. All right. I am standing in a room of experienced professionals. Now, experience may be a year or 2, experience may be 23 or 30 years. You have to be able to get a number from your client. I guarantee you they have a number in their head. The number could be completely false. It might be relevant. We don't know. If they will not share a number, you need to say, in my experience, based on what you've shared about your project, you can expect to invest 150 to 250. And you need to pause and say, where are you in that range? They're going to have one of 3 reactions. One is going to be 150. I thought it was going to be 75K. Oh, okay. So now you have a decision to make. Do you want to keep working with this board, or do you want to say, we might not be the best fit for you? It's always you not being the fit, not them. Okay, that's really important. And then you have a little email that you already have drafted with 3 other designers in the local area. We cannot refer nor recommend. Here are 3 sources you may wish to explore. Bye-bye. Okay. Or they're going to say, okay, well, we're probably okay up to like 225. Okay, we'll work on that. Do you have a contingency factor of 15 to 20%? All clients should have a contingency factor of 15 to 20%. If you are not referencing that, that's on you. Okay? And the best answer of all, and it does happen, not as often as we'd like, but it does happen. They go, oh gosh, we earmarked 400 for this. Okay, it does happen. So you've got to get a number from them. You cannot proceed down the path of discovery without that. This should happen before you even do an initial consult in their home. Seriously, why would you bother going out to their home if your numbers are not aligned? Now, sometimes they genuinely don't have a clue, and that's fine, but they still know what they have available. Okay? So it really makes a difference. You've got to get that. Estimate of design time for project, value of the home by square foot. That's an easy one. That's Zillow or Realtor.com. They have that on there. Square footage of the project or the interior investment. So square footage of the interior investment. List of rooms. If you're not addressing a whole home or a whole level, I need the list of rooms. And then you always apply a minimum of 2 formulas. And the reason I ask for a list of rooms is because we have per room rates. And that can be a cool way to go. Okay? So you need to have this intel. Percent of project cost, super simple. Love this method. You have got to get the actual project cost. So if you're working on a remodel, kitchen or bath, if you're not privy to that actual intel, you can't run this method. You can't. I love this method. It's clean. It's easy. 15 to 35%. If you can get more than that, go for it. I doubt you'll be able to. The only problem with this method becomes that because it mirrors architects, builders, and contractors, if they hear what your percentage is and it's higher than theirs, they will make noise. Now, what I like to do is I tell my designers, look, tell them first of all that your rates are your rates, his rates are his rates, and there's no reason for you to even have a discussion around them. But more importantly, explain that his percentage is lower on a much larger number and your percentage is higher because it's on a smaller number. So usually that will chill them out. The other reality is that as a designer, we're doing a lot more to the space. We're making it habitable. You could build the most beautiful home in the world. You could do the most incredible bath remodel, but if you didn't have a designer present with the finishes, fixtures, lighting, tile layout, etc., it's an empty shell. It's not usable. Okay? It's not livable. That makes a difference. So you've got to be aware of that. This does require a minimum project size. If you're worried about that, put it in your agreement. Say minimum project size, not to go below X. There's no maximum. And when you invoice, it's just super clean and super easy. Again, mostly on flat fees, you're invoicing 50% upfront for design fees and 50% before presentation. Before presentation. Your procurement, your furnishings, the margin, the markup you make on all of that is separate. But you want this all up front. I want all of you paid way before installation. I don't want you having final invoices that go out after installation, because that's when clients slow things down dramatically. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and you're getting an attorney involved. It's a whole big headache. Don't do it. Don't do it. Get paid in advance, okay? It just makes sense. So super easy calculation. Super easy calculation. This is not hard to do. Now, what I can tell you is that in kitchen and bath, they're running 10 to 15%. I have my K&B designers running 15 to 20%. I raise everybody across the board. When you leave here today, you can consider yourself raised. Okay? That's important to me, because too many designers come in with too many limiting beliefs. So Danielle blew me out of the water. She was part of my Go Beyond Intensive last spring. We have another one coming up in November. And she blew me out of the water because she was in a very dark place when she came to the Go Beyond. She was frustrated. She was ready to throw in the towel. And she was like, I'm not sure I want to do this anymore, Melissa. And we turned that all around for her. But really, really blew my socks off was highest renovation, 35 a square foot in upstate New York. I was like, what? You did what? That's fantastic. Because that is not a number that's often used for renovation for a designer. And she got no pushback from her client. She said she ran 3 formulas and she came up with the same answer on every formula. I'm like, okay, fantastic. So she asked it and she got it. And then when I think back to Andrea and how she was going to go $750 and was struggling to get $1,350 out of her mouth, it's just really, really interesting. So Danielle was in a different place at that point because she'd been through the Go Beyond and she understood her limiting beliefs and she'd released a lot of that. So she's 2 times revenue growth for the year after that experience, which is super cool. Rebuilt her dream team. Team wasn't working. She replaced them. That's what you got to do. Okay. Don't sit and wait. VIP paid wait list until April. So some of you probably have a wait list, but if it's not a paid wait list, it doesn't really count. So VIP paid wait list means that when somebody comes to you and you've got a full project load already, you say, we'll be launching new projects. You don't say we're not taking new projects. Say, we'll be launching new projects April 2024. Can you wait? And if they say yes, you say, fantastic. We're going to put you through our design discovery process, and we're going to create a proposal, and we'll take a 50% deposit against design fees to hold your VIP spot on our priority wait list. Boom. And that way, you have non-refundable, by the way. This is non-refundable. You have them locked in. They're not going to go anywhere. When you're getting deposits of $2,500, $5K, they'll leave you. But when you have them locked in at 20, 30 or more, they're not going to leave. So I want you to really think about that. VIP paid waitlist is crazy valuable. I have designers who are booked out 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and so on. A lot of clients are willing to wait, especially if it's not their primary residence. So give that some thought. That matters. She's also taking vacations and has improved balance. Everybody gets vacations on my watch. Everybody gets improved balance. Everybody gets to be home by 5 o'clock. Everybody gets their weekends off. So if you don't have those things, it's possible. So square foot method. Now here's the thing about square foot method. you can, $3 to 35, and I'll share the breakdown of this, because for finishes, fixtures, and lighting, it's normally $3 to $10 a square foot. Okay. And for remodel, it can be 12 to 20 a square foot normally. Now, obviously, Danielle saw that. She knew these numbers, and she's like, I think this is worth 35 a square foot. And I'm like, yes. So go for it. And then furnishings is anywhere from 10 to 30 a square foot. But normally, if you've got a finishes, fixtures, lighting, plus remodel, plus furnishings, the fast path number is $25 a square foot. Okay. A lot of times you're doing all three of these in tandem rather than individually calculating. So it's super simple to calculate. It's finite for the client. It's flexible per project. You got to define deliverables precisely. There's no room to grow. The most important part about this is please don't do this on an individual room. It's too small. It won't work. It won't work. Okay. I mean, unless you've got somebody who's got a room that's like 40 by 50, which it would work. It'd be great. But if you've got traditional rooms, this is why I don't use it in kitchens and baths. I don't use it in kitchens and baths. It just doesn't work very well. The spaces are too small, and you'd have to have such a high number, it would freak the client out completely. So there's spaces to use it. This is great for a whole home. It's great for a whole level. It's great for a guest house. It's great for things that have multiple rooms. I would say 3-room minimum, you could use this. So what I love about square foot is it's a small incremental raise in the per square foot, but it shows up at the bottom line as a nice bump. So whenever you're running your numbers, try to go $250 up or $5 up and see what it does. And go, oh, well, why don't I try asking for that? You only get one shot to ask. Okay. And if your client signs quickly, if there's no raised eyebrow, there's no sharp intake of breath, there's no pause, there's no, there's no, we didn't think that it was going to be that high, which they shouldn't ever say because you would have already discussed the numbers with them. You are leaving money on the table. You want a tiny bit of pushback. That means you hit a limit. If you're not getting pushback, you've got more ramp and you're leaving money on the table. Most designers leave money on the table because they're uncomfortable asking for large numbers. So if that's what you're doing, you're in really good company, but I want you getting out of that company and into pocketing the money. Okay? Anybody not want to pocket the money? That would be sad. All right. So Pamela does a ton of new construction. And she was on the fast path to burnout. She really was. Her husband, he was like her second husband. They'd been married for 2 years. Didn't get to see her at all. The business was completely consuming her. Workaholic. Even her teenage daughter was saying, Mom, we don't get to see you anymore. So we got her off the treadmill. We got her into taking vacations. Now she takes multiple vacations a year. And she's tripled her revenues to over $3.2 million in 12 months. Super cool. But now she's at a relaxed pace. And she's like, it makes such a difference. She gets to work out with her daughter in the mornings. She works from home a couple of days a week. And she rebuilt her team too. Team really makes a difference. If your team is not expert enough, if they are not pulling their weight, if you're the pickup king or queen, not the right team. Not the right team. Be more strategic. And team can be outsourced as well as boots on the ground. I'm a big fan of balancing with outsource so you reduce your overhead. I want you running as light an overhead as possible. I'm not a big fan of overhead. It doesn't make you nimble and flexible, and that really makes a difference. And, rebuilt the team, delegate. She wasn't delegating enough. She was hanging on to it all. Does this sound familiar? Anybody else here a micromanager? Do I have any control freaks in the room? Type A's, triple type A's. Yeah, I thought so. Streamlined systems for more time. Automation kicked in. That's all possible. Design is an amazing, amazing career path. It truly is. We're so lucky. You get to have a business that is a lifestyle business Any trip you go on is a buying trip. And if you're an S corp or you're an LLC, you get to write that off. Now, I'm not an accountant. I don't play one. But the accountants I've talked to have agreed with that. And what they don't agree with is when I try to write off like a country club membership because I tell them that's lead generation. They won't let my designers do that. It's so disappointing. Back 5 years ago, you could do that. Now you can't do that anymore. Such a bummer. But it really matters. So hourly with a multiplier. Now, I don't love this. This is a backup method. This is not a method I want you to use because here's the problem. You have to have a basis for your numbers. Very important. You have to be prepared for that question that Andrea got. How did you arrive at this fee? And you can't say the formula I'm going to share with you, which is, well, my hourly was 150, but I use Melissa's formula, so it's automatically 200. And then I multiplied it by 1.5. No, that's not going to fly. You can't do that. So, because that is what, in fact, I do. I am buffering you by 1.5 minimum. Now, if you have a difficult client, what I call a PITA client, if I'm going to be nice, it's going to be a PIN client, pain in the neck. You all can figure out pain in the, for PITA. I'll let you work that out. Okay. So I actually spoke with a designer recently who used a 2.5 for a PITA client. I was like, ooh, you go. That's awesome. And the client paid it. So this is the thing. You will not get what you do not ask for. If you're not willing to ask for it, you're not going to get it. You can't. Client doesn't know you want it. So really important that you ask. But this is just a check balance method. If you were to try to do this, you would need to at least back in a square foot so you could come up with a basis for the number, because you cannot share this formula with a client. They're not going to go for it. Okay? But everybody, if you're below 200, you get automatically raised to 200. If you're above 200, I'm going to give you an extra 50 on top of whatever rate you have. Okay? I raise everybody across the board because you're just not making enough. And that really concerns me. So this is one of the simplest to sell. It's really easy. Define deliverables precisely. Make it a pay in full. That's a PIF. If you can get it all in full up front, go for it. You're thinking, I need to split this up, Melissa. I need a schedule. How do I do a payment schedule? I have my designers ask me this. I'm like, why are you doing the schedule? Why don't you just have the client pay you 50% up front, 50% before design presentation? And then you can get your procurement management fee on the other side. That's what makes sense. So it's best on predictable projects with clients that you know quite well. So you don't run into something whereby you met one of them and they're both doctors and he was really laid back and chill and super awesome, but you hadn't met her when they signed the agreement and she's a doctor too, and you didn't realize it was going to be opposites attract. And she's like a micromanager and a detail wrangler, and she's super stressed out and anxious all the time. So it triples the amount of time you have to spend. That doesn't work. You need to know all decision makers in discovery before you get to proposal. If they blindside you with a new decision maker, you by rights can terminate. Something else you need to put in your letters of agreement, your contracts, I call them letters of agreement, it sounds friendlier. Underneath your signatures, expiration date. Expiration date. I use 7 to 14 days. Some of my designers like to go to 30. Okay. The reason for that is if you have an agreement that's sitting out and you're not getting a response and they're dragging their feet and you have another project that comes in, you don't want to leave a space for that dragging your feet client. You want to be able to say yes to this other project. You also don't want them coming back 3 months from now with the same terms and conditions saying we're ready to go. I'd be like, what's your point? I'm not. So you never sign the agreement first. You always have the client sign first. Please use DocuSign, HelloSign, one of the digital signings. And how many of you are still getting checks? Let me see a show of hands. Okay, too many. I would really encourage you to move to digital, ACH, or wire transfer. The challenge with checks, if you're collecting it in person, at least you've cut down on the 1 to 2 weeks that could be with the postal service. But technically speaking, even once you have it in your hand, you should not be moving forward until it has actually cleared the bank, which could be 10 to 14 days. So that whole process from a, postal service to clearing the bank could be a month. That's crazy. We can't wait when there's furniture selections that have been made, when fixture selections have been made, lighting selections have been made, and they could get discontinued, they could get back ordered, something like that in the interim. So just go to wire transfer and ACH. It really, really makes the money come in a lot faster. Money loves speed. It loves speed. So hourly with a multiplier. Now, daily is a really interesting story because she came to me right around that 200 mark, January of this year. In 9 months, she'd already achieved her goal for the year, which was $500,000. By the end of this year, she will be at 7 figures. And she will be there because she raised her flat fees significantly. She was at flat fees when we started working together, but they weren't high enough. And she restructured those flat fees. And her first project that she brought in with me on board was, I think it was about $118K flat fee. The next one was $314. And what also made the difference is Daily partnered with a builder. She has created an entire product around this with the process inside. And it will be launching in December. But I'm the one who also said, Daily, you've got something really magical here, and I want to help you put it into a product and create that passive stream of revenue. So I'm about multiple revenue streams whenever it's possible. And some of my clients, some of my designers have systems and processes that it makes sense to share. So she is one. But my favorite is we're achieving goals faster than I ever thought was possible, and I'm in love with my business again. Crazy cool stuff. This is what happens. This is what's possible. And she didn't know it was possible. She really didn't. She came on board expecting growth, but she didn't know it was going to be meteoric. She really didn't. And it came down to her ability to release what she thought she could do and step into what was truly possible. Because I don't have the limiting beliefs. And I show the mirror up and I say, hang on, I think this might be a limiting belief. Can we release that? Because then you can make a whole lot more and you can have a lot more fun doing it. I don't ever want my designers sacrificing themselves. It doesn't work for me. 4 times revenue growth, built her dream team. Team has been interesting. We've had some changes in team. She also reduced her expenses by 50% because when we started working together, she had all local and it was costing a fortune. And she was still doing way too much pickup work. And I was like, this isn't working. They're not doing enough. I want you to restructure this team. I want you to really take a close look at what you love to do, what you're fast at, and what you're no-brainer brilliant at. That's zone of genius. You stay in your zone of genius. The rest of it gets delegated or outsourced. That's what makes the difference right there. And then created the stream of passive revenue that's coming, deployed automation, and she's selective in her project. She was willing to release the little ones. She stopped taking the small ones. She said, Melissa, it's just so much more fun to work these large ones. I only need 2 to 3 a year. And I know that everybody has an inner people pleaser. And you feel like, oh, I got to help them. I got to help them. No, you don't have to help them. You can provide those 3 local resources and they can explore those because you're taking money out of that designer's pocket and that designer doesn't have the capacity to get as big as you can, to work with larger clients at affluent levels. So don't take everything that shows up. Don't do it. It's a recipe for burnout. And it's a recipe for a compromised bottom line because the little projects require twice the effort, 3 times the hand-holding. You all know what I'm talking about here. And they don't earn you near as much. So let's get you into those larger projects. Let's get you into those 6 and even 7-figure projects. That's what makes the difference. So combination rate is when you take a fixed design fee and 25 to 60% of product purchased at your cost, no splitting of discounts. Now, this could be a whole separate training because, boy, I tell you what, the product markup, margin, procurement management fee is my terminology for it, is complicated. The one terminology that I don't agree with is reasonable retail, because there's no such animal on the face of the planet with the internet right now. There just isn't. The word retail doesn't mean anything anymore. Even MSRP doesn't mean anything anymore. So I have designers who do this, and some very, very few are at 25%. A couple of them are at 60%, handful of them are at 35%, and a bunch in South Florida that have senior clients are 45%. There's a very wealthy market over 60 years old. And because they're living longer, you're going to get clients into their 80s and 90s and beyond. Because the one thing that we do really well, we do a lot of things really well, that designers do really well, is care and attention. Your clients want to feel heard, understood, valued, and cared for. And a lot of those senior clients, their families are ignoring them. They're waiting for the inheritance. And so they've decided they're going to blow the inheritance on design and construction and remodeling. And there are plenty of designers who are able to step up. Okay? So there's a very lucrative market up there. There really is. The millennial market's different. It can be lucrative because they've gotten into their 40s now, but it's tougher. And they will push back hard against furnishing fees. Very hard. So the remedy to that is you say, I'm happy to reduce the procurement management, but we will need to increase our design fee. They usually have no issue with that at all. I've got a couple of my designers down in Florida doing that right now, and they're getting no pushback. So they just estimate how much they're losing percentage-wise, and they pop it over on a design fee and go right ahead. You cannot remove fee. You cannot negotiate fee if you don't remove deliverables, or if you don't balance it and move, what we removed from here, we're going to put over here. You can do that. But if you ever get into a negotiation with a client and you start reducing your fee without reducing deliverables, you've just shown them you have no fee integrity, you have no backbone, and they can walk all over you. It's not your best look. So be careful about that. Oh, I don't know what that was. So Nan is in South Florida. She is the one who did the $15,000 wine week. Landed a couple of clients from it. No big surprise there. She was having fun, memorable, and magnetic. But what I love most is that she had her best year yet, and she has a sense of calm and peace. And prior to working with me, she had not taken real vacations. Now she's actually bought a home in Italy with a friend, and she's going for a month, which is just so epic. And we went through some team changes too. There was the Great Resignation. A lot of my designers got caught in that. And they might have had a team for 7 to 10 years. And then all of a sudden they've got movement on the team. And they're like, Melissa, what am I going to do? And I'm like, okay, here's what you're going to do. So it really makes a difference. You've got to pay attention to your team. And if they're not working for you, you want to consider making some changes. She moved to flat fees. And her clients have no resistance to that whatsoever. But the streamlining, it's saving her at least a day a week. That's 4 days a month she gets back because she's no longer reviewing invoices. It's so simple. This is the other thing. Clients that look at hourly invoices with questions, they're not qualified to ask questions. How could they possibly know how long it takes to select a sofa, to select a fabric, to select a bath fixture, to select a lighting fixture, to put together a space plan? They can't. They don't have the qualifications to do this. So if you remove that from the equation, you solve the problem. Makes a difference. It really does. And she's at 25% revenue growth for her best year to date because she's at a whole different echelon of design. That's what makes the difference. And she rebranded to attract top-tier clients. She wasn't going to do that when we started. I said, you kind of need to do that every 2 to 3 years now. You have to refresh and go through a bit of a rebrand to stay current, to stay relevant, and because website design changes so frequently. So that time for a rich social life and more travel, I don't know. I think everybody wants that. So I want you more in control, more at ease, more confident, and more profitable. Does anybody think that they'll implement this and they'll achieve this? Yes? Woohoo! I love it. I love it. Okay. So do you understand how to truly value yourselves now? Design is a short-term investment with what kind of return? Long-term return. Yeah. 15, 20 year. Some of your clients are going to keep it for 30 years, especially if you're in the Midwest or if you are in New England. They keep this stuff forever. You have to go in once a year just to change the magazines on the coffee table. Okay? What's the number one phrase? Additions and changes require a change order and additional fees. Fees, not hours. Fees. How to detail design deliverables? Nobody here is going to use the word all, are they? They're going to put numbers in front of every single one because that's going to protect you. And then 4 proven formulas. And there's more in the download. So there is a book signing next door in the Designer's Lounge, Marketing Luxury Design, Attracting Affluent Clients. A lot of marketing strategies in there that you can apply immediately. Immediately. It's a quick read. I want you moving forward quickly. I truly do. All right, let's wrap this up. I will be next door doing a book signing. And then if you want to hang out with additional questions, I'll be there for a little while on top of that. Okay? Thank you all.